Hey guys, Jeff with Maker's Niche here. What you're looking at is some monuments in Cleveland, Ohio called the Guardians of Traffic. They are on the Hope Memorial Bridge, and they are the reason the Cleveland Indians was renamed to the Cleveland Guardians. I have some family that lives in Cleveland, and I visit there quite often, so I thought it'd be nice to make a nice little model for them as a present. And found this model online of one of the pillars. Even has the construction lines of the sandstone pieces going together, so very happy with how this looks. And I need a base for it to go on, so got some pictures of the Hope Memorial Bridge, and I designed up probably just like it's just considered one bay of the bridge. So a couple trusses, supports on each end, and kind of like the bridge decking on top. So this is what will be the base of the model. Model will sit right on top of this, and we'll get these printed out and see how they come out. So the prints came out really nice. The model of the Guardian itself, very highly detailed, really nice print. It's a resin print, so I had to put some drain holes in it, but I fully plan to cut off to those anyway because I want to fill this with some resin epoxy, give it some weight, and so it's not just a hollow 3D print. The bridge pieces came out pretty good. The trusses are a little thin, might reprint those, but the support pier ends came out very nice, exactly how I wanted them to. The trusses will go in between these. I've got some notches here on the ends that these fit right into, and I'll just use some CA glue and put those together. Now the deck, on the other hand, didn't fare so well. Too thin. It's really hard to print that kind of shape on resin, so I'm going to go with an alternate thought here, which just takes some styrene pieces. That's a 4mm styrene sheet and some square tubing for the parapet walls on the sides. And I've just cut some angles on those so they kind of ramp up to full height, as you would see a bridge typically does. So it's, a little more realistic looking when it's done. But this is ready to have some milliput put in the ends because the tubing is hollow. So I filled the ends up with some milliput, sanded them smooth, and then I will, CA glue these to the we'll call it the deck, to the bridge deck, styrene sheet itself. And so I've cut off the bottom of the Guardian model here and pulled out all those supports. There were a lot of supports in there. I've got those all pulled out, and I'm going to fill the inside of that with some resin here, 2-part resin. I need this to stay vertical and it's not flat on its top, so I utilized a phone holding mount from some of my camera equipment to keep it vertical. I'm going to get the volume that I need of resin by filling the mold, we'll call it, itself with some water first, and then measuring that, and that should give me a pretty good idea of what I need resin wise or epoxy wise. So this is a product from Smooth On called Smooth Cast, and it's a 2-part epoxy resin where you do a part A and part B equal parts and then mix them together, and they will cure into a hardened resin. So half of part A, rest in part B, and stir it up, then pour it in. So I measured a little off here, and you should always pour a little more mixture into your cup than you think you'll actually need, just in case of an issue like this. So I had to quickly mix up some more and top it off. As you could see, it was already curing white. It goes in clear, and then once it's cured or once it's activated, it will turn white. I'll zoom in here for the top portion of this. You can see the white crystallizing, kind of like something ice getting frozen. But from the top to bottom, you'll start to see it turning to white. And then it'll, yeah, here it goes. From top down. Really cool. But what I didn't account for is it, as it did this in the main part of the mold, or the main part of the structure, it kind of pushed the sides out. So it's a little bit thicker than it was originally, but it weighs a lot. It's like a brick now, so it's going to be substantial and actually be something. Okay, so I've got some primer on this, ready for some paint. I got the paint color mixed up I want to use. And the bridge deck might look a little different to you than what you just saw it. I decided to not only reprint the trusses, but also reprint another bay, or print a new bay, so it kind of goes 2 bays across. I just felt like the model looked weird standing on top of the smaller part of the bridge. So I've mixed this paint up. It looks kind of mustardy, I know, but with this gray primer underneath, it will dry darker, and I really want to try to capture that, sandstone-y kind of look to this, where it's dark but light at the same time, and I think we'll get there here. So this is 3 or 4 coats, and exactly as I hoped. You can see the dark undertones in there of the primer. I went ahead and used the same color for the bridge supports, just because I had it mixed up and it worked out great. The trusses themselves of the Hope Memorial Bridge are green, so I've got some green mixed up here, and I'm just going to put it on here. It comes out really nice. I could have weathered it a little more with some rust or something along those lines, but I think for what this is good enough. Okay, so now for my favorite part. If you're watching my videos, you know how much I love doing washes and weathering and bringing things, making certain aspects pop out of my builds, and this is no exception. There's a lot of tiny little recesses in this specific model that you don't really see unless it's got some paint, and we'll call it dirt, down in there. So I've got this oily looking wash that I'm going to put on there, and just put many coats on. So this is 5 or 6 coats wash on. I did 2 of the 4 sides, so this is not treated, and you can see how the crevices stand out a little more. And I'm going to use this same wash on the bridge deck, and it's going to be a sponge, like just a makeup sponge, and I'm just going to pat it on and give it this texture, this rough, oily looking texture that just kind of makes it look more like pavement than primer. And at the end of this, I've got the whole model washed, and its low spots are darker, but I want to bring out the high points. And speaking from retrospectively right now, I probably should have mixed a little bit of a tan in there. Instead I went with this stark white dry brushing highlight on it, but it came out okay at the end. So I've got these HO scale lampposts, very thin wiring, and I thought, hey, what would be even better is to have this have some electricity, some lighting to it. So I'm going to put these lampposts on either end of the bridge, the model in between them, and a little switch that turns the lights on and off. So I kind of laid out my diagram here of how I'm going to wire this, just to test this out, because I've got my HO lamps. They're hot going to the switch, they're negative coming back to the battery. This is a 12-volt battery, but the lamps are 9 volts, so I've got a resistor here, might be kind of hard to see, that's going to drop that 12 volt down to 9 volts. So fingers crossed, what should happen here after I put the battery in and push the switch should light up perfectly fine. And it does, so great. That works. 12-volt reduced to 9 powers these 9-volt HO lamps, and I'm going to put them in. Just going to drill right through the parapet wall, just right down through it like you'd see on a normal bridge. It would be on top of the parapet wall, or kind of off the other side of the parapet wall, so it's going to work out and look really nice. Alright, so I've got it all wired up. Everything's in place. Hid the wires best I could. This is the back of the model. The front, you'll never see any of the wiring. Only see the battery if you're looking underneath. And so I've got it all kind of wrapped around through there, glued down, shrink wrapped. The resistors under that shrink wrap. Switch is glued on and lights up. So this build is done. Thanks for watching that video, guys. If you enjoyed it, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel so you get notified of new videos coming out, and I'll see you in the next one.